Thank you for joining us today. You're here for Pacvue's sponsored display Fireside Chat with Amazon. So you've got myself, Mindy Fashaw, COO of Pacvue. I will be the host today. And then my two panelists with me are Starry Pang, Senior Product Manager for Sponsored Display at Amazon, and then Matt McGrory, Account Director at Pacvue. So we'll just kind of jump right in. We're going to talk a lot about sponsored display, specifically how it works, what's new. There's been a lot of newness with sponsored display over the last handful of quarters, I would say. And then lastly, we'll finish off with how to think about sponsored display as part of a holistic strategy. So let's dive right in. First, in terms of how it works, Starry, what is sponsored display and what are some of the reasons that advertisers should use it?
Great question, Mindy. And before I dive into my answer, thanks so much for having me today. I'm really excited to share a little bit more with everyone about sponsored display. So sponsored display is Amazon Advertising's self-service sponsored ad solution for display advertising. And we primarily have two targeting strategies today. We have product targeting and audiences. Sponsored display broadly is available in worldwide locales for all advertisers who are either vendors or seller brand owners. Now, before I jump into the key benefits of sponsored display, I wanted to first cover a little bit more about the shopping journey and understand a little bit about how shopping habits are rapidly evolving. We know that audiences are moving more fluidly than ever across channels and devices, between different contexts and different mindsets as well, right? You could be researching brands off of Amazon to engaging with your favorite creators on Twitch, to then actually buying those products on Amazon. And so what has traditionally been a very linear journey from product awareness through to product purchase is now more varied, fluid, and dynamic than ever. What's really important is connecting with new audiences at the right moment, at those relevant moments. So as a brand, you want to be present with your products when and where audiences are really spending time and discovering new products. So this is where sponsored display really comes in that shopping journey, is to help you reach relevant audiences to accelerate your brand growth with Amazon. We help you easily introduce your products to new audiences, and we also help you re-engage those existing audiences, both in your own aisle, your own category, as well as outside of your aisle, on product detail pages, the Amazon homepage, off-site across third-party websites and mobile apps, and most recently, even on Twitch.
Great, that's a really great overview. So Starry, given the options from Amazon advertising in terms of products, how do advertisers know when sponsored display is right for them?
From our perspective, any advertisers that want to grow their business with Amazon, whether that's by reaching new or existing customers, should consider using sponsored displays capabilities to reach shoppers at each stage of that shopping journey that I just described. They can use sponsored displays product targeting strategy to build effective and powerful product detail page strategies and advertise their products alongside other similar products from other brands. Then complementing product targeting, advertisers should think about leveraging audiences to then help them get out of their own aisle, out of their own categories, whether that's reaching new customers through Amazon audiences or re-engaging existing customers by remarketing to them. I also wanted to note 3 additional benefits and how to think about sponsored display when you're using it. The first one is retail awareness. This means that sponsored display ads will only show if your product is the featured offer. This also includes inventory and delivery promise awareness. So all of this helps protect your ad spend with sponsored display. The second piece is we've recently added bid optimization controls so that in your campaigns, you can choose to optimize for conversions if you want to focus on sales, clicks if you're focused on driving and generating detail page traffic, or viewable impressions to drive greater reach in your awareness campaigns using our new VCPM or viewable CPM billing and attribution. And the final thing I'll say is our custom creative options. In sponsored display, you can actually utilize brand logos, headline, and most recently, custom lifestyle product images. Sponsored display creatives are also dynamically optimized to include retail badges such as Prime, bestsellers, or even coupons.
Great. So Matt, from an advisory perspective, how do you typically orient clients in understanding if sponsored display is right for them?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's one that I receive probably most frequently with advertisers that have yet to start advertising or are just getting started. So I'd say the first thing that I highlight when I speak to our clients is that sponsored display is a really powerful advertising tool, specifically giving them the ability to appear both on and off Amazon, which I think is a great feature. And then specifically giving them the ability to appear in places that they couldn't normally reach with sponsored product or sponsored brands ads. So I think that's a really big selling feature. I would also stress that when I talk to clients, I say, it can fit into any advertising strategy, any budget, and then there's really no wrong time to get started. And then I think the final point I make is I really firmly believe that it's crucial to test early and test often, both to gain that proprietary experience for your own brand, but I would say almost more importantly, making sure that you're staying ahead of your competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Starry, what are the targeting and creative capabilities of sponsored display? I know you touched on them, but let's dive in a little bit more. And then can you also hit on how they differ from other sponsored ad products?
Yeah, absolutely, Mindy. So one way to help reach shoppers on Amazon is by using products like sponsored products or sponsored brands to help surface your products and brand close to the point of sale on the shopping results pages on Amazon.com. Now, the shopping results pages are an important part of the shopping journey because these audiences have directly demonstrated their shopping intent and their interest through relevant search keywords. But it's important to consider, what happens before and also after the shopping results page. What happens before shoppers even know what they're looking for on Amazon? So that's where sponsored display comes in. So let's talk a little bit about the targeting strategies, which we believe can really complement your sponsored products and your sponsored brand strategies to extend that presence to other parts of the shopping journey, like awareness and product consideration. So as I mentioned earlier, let's start with product targeting. Product targeting helps you reach audiences where they are shopping in a precise moment by allowing you to contextually show your ads on prominent placements on specific detail pages on Amazon. On the other hand, when you're using sponsored display audiences, we're helping you leverage Amazon's first-party shopping and streaming signals to easily describe, reach, and engage the relevant audiences to your brand, wherever they're spending time, whether that's on Amazon or off Amazon. So let me talk a little bit about where your ads might show up when you're using audiences. You can reach audiences on the homepage, where millions of US shoppers start their Amazon shopping journeys. You can reach them off Amazon across third-party websites and mobile apps, and then most recently on Twitch, which I alluded to earlier. So from our perspective, both product targeting and audiences are fantastic strategies and can actually complement one another depending on your goal. Mindy, you also asked me to touch a little bit on the ad creatives. So let's talk a little bit about the creative capabilities for sponsored display. We help advertisers tell their unique brand and product story through two major creative options today, depending on your campaign objectives. The first one is, if you're looking to drive performance, we recommend using our auto-generated ad creatives. These auto-generated creatives will automatically pull product imagery from your promoted product's detail page, and they support a familiar white background. They're specifically designed to engage audiences with familiar Amazon shopping elements, including customer reviews, Prime badging, and call to action like shop now. And in this creative type, you can connect with customers using custom headlines as well as your own brand logo. So a tip from me would be to use a unique eye-catching headline to really stand out and reinforce your branding with your own custom brand logo. Now, the second piece is, as of last month, it's really exciting. We now offer custom lifestyle image creatives. These are really powerful for awareness and consideration campaigns for when you're looking to tell your story in your brand's own visual language. So while you can still use the creative elements to drive performance, like, star rating and product title and pricing, what's important here is that you can now upload your own lifestyle images with bespoke background colors, as well as your own art direction to truly convey your brand's unique and compelling story.
Awesome. Matt, I saw you nodding in agreement a lot. Do you have anything you would add to that?
I got to say that's kind of hard to follow up because Starry covered everything perfectly, of course. So I can answer that question as a practitioner, on the outside who's actually, launching and managing these campaigns on a day-to-day basis. I would say the first and most important differentiator, in my opinion, when working with our clients is the fact that it is not keyword-based bidding like a traditional sponsored products or sponsored brands campaign, where it does have both unique and, in my opinion, more robust and flexible targeting capabilities. Like Starry mentioned, all the way at the broadest level with your audience targeting down to the most specific, hyper granular product targeting strategy, where you can be bidding for specific placement on actual just one or two ASINs, and then refining that targeting based on, in-stock eligibility, things like that. From a creative perspective, again, like Starry mentioned, I think it really gives you the best of both worlds. Since if you're just getting started or you don't have a ton of creative resources or time to invest in custom creative, you can get started just with dynamic creative that automatically pulls from the ASIN or product detail page content. Or on the flip side, you can get really, really custom with, like she said, bespoke lifestyle images, logos, and headlines.
Awesome. Okay, let's hop over to kind of a burning topic, which is budgets. And I'm going to ask this question to both of you, but let's start with you, Starry. So how does Amazon advertising orient advertisers in thinking about budgeting benchmarks to apply to sponsored display? And what advice would you give for budget setting?
Yeah, from our perspective, budgeting really depends on the individual advertiser's objectives, whether you care about driving reach and awareness or conversion, or if you're promoting a brand new product versus one of your best sellers. So generally, we recommend between 10 to 20% of a sponsored ads campaign budget to go towards sponsored display. But do recommend using a test and learn approach and optimize based against your specific business objectives. But I love to hear a little bit about what Matt thinks.
Yeah, and that's funny. We always start from a test and learn perspective, but Matt, you're having these conversations day in and day out. So how do you typically advise clients on how to think about budget setting?
I am having these conversations daily, and I would say the conversation has changed quite a bit, even in the past probably 3 or 4 months with just all of the new features and functionality within sponsored display. So I would say in the past where I would have recommended, 5% of budget go to sponsored display, maybe 10%. Like Starry mentioned, that recommendation is now consistently over 10 and sometimes up to 20%. So I think with all the, great new features functionality, having custom creative, your offsite remarketing capabilities via audience targeting, I now think that it's just become a much more powerful tool within your overarching Amazon advertising strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit on it a little bit earlier, Matt, but always testing and retesting, right? Nothing's ever the same in this space. So what you learn today could be different tomorrow. So
we see thousands of changes per day to one campaign. So yeah, it's critical to be staying on top.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matt, from a tactical perspective, how should a new advertiser get started with sponsored display?
This is probably the second most common question I get. And I would say that there's 3 main things that I hit on. I would say first and foremost, you can start with a small scale test. You don't need to be investing, a huge chunk of money right away. Obviously with the goal of, hopefully driving strong performance and then, increasing your investment down the road. I would also say if you're hesitant or you're just getting started for the first time, focus on starting with a hero item or some of your top sellers for specifically some of those really powerful product detail page placements to lead with your, kind of put your best foot forward. And then finally, the thing that I stress is there's really nothing to be afraid of. You do get real-time metrics and performance data back for how the campaign's performing. You have tons of visibility into performance. You have lots of ability to, pivot and edit your strategy as you go. So I would say if you are just getting started from a creative perspective, the final thing I'll say is definitely would recommend you start with the dynamic creatives that are auto-created with the Amazon system. And then probably start with product targeting, which is those placements on specific product detail pages where you're targeting one or multiple ASINs. And then eventually, as you learn and as you gain your own learnings back, I would say that you then move into more of the custom creative and then kind of move your way up the funnel into category and then at the top audiences targeting. So I'd say once you have the fundamentals down, move your way up, think about product targeting and dynamic creatives as kind of your in-aisle marketing. And then as you gain learnings, gain your data back and feel more comfortable moving up the funnel to category and then audiences targeting at the top of your marketing funnel, I would consider that more of your out of aisle or adjacent targeting. So it really gives you, full funnel visibility and full funnel tactics.
And Matt, talking more about testing and learning, what kind of test and learn opportunities are exciting for advertisers to try with sponsored display?
Yeah, I think one that is pretty common right now that I'm really excited about is the capabilities for audience targeting, and then especially being able to target offsite. I think that's a really great one. And then finally, just the constantly improving creative capabilities, being able to upload your own lifestyle image, run A/B tests with headlines or logos. So I'd say from a testing perspective, I would personally love to run a test with audience targeting as part of an upper funnel awareness driving tactic, potentially before a key drive period like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or Prime Day, to build that brand awareness and build that remarketing pool ahead of time. And then as you move customers from upper funnel and audience targeting, you can then intentionally move them down the funnel towards purchase with category and product targeting. And then I would say after the fact, once you've gained that data back and gained those learnings, I would pretty quickly double down on some A/B tests with the custom creative things like logo, headline, custom image.
Great. So Starry, how do these strategies compare to those of Amazon DSP?
Mindy, you're asking the really good questions. We get this question a lot. So let me start by saying that the Amazon DSP is a very robust tool for awareness campaigns. You should consider using the Amazon DSP if you require additional third-party data or you want to support link out campaigns, meaning that the traffics and the clicks are actually sent off of Amazon. Now, when we talk about sponsored display and the Amazon DSP, we primarily think about retail centricity and interoperability, respectively. So the main difference between the two products are actually these two core concepts. We consider sponsored display to be retail centric. We serve advertisers focused on growing their business with Amazon. And we offer features and capabilities, including asynchronous reporting, as well as the featured offer and delivery promise awareness that I alluded to earlier when we spoke a little bit about retail centricity. The Amazon DSP, on the other hand, serves advertisers across a broad variety of goals and a myriad of supply sources, primarily using our ad tech suite through interoperability. So what we would recommend is leaning into sponsored display if you want to use Amazon's rich first-party audiences to help build your business with Amazon. You can use the Amazon DSP to connect to outside tools, such as third-party audiences from a DMP. And you can access the Amazon Advertising Technology Suite as well. Additionally, as I mentioned, the Amazon DSP supports link out campaigns. So if you are interested in linking out to properties outside of Amazon, or if you're interested in accessing multi-channel advertising formats like audio and video, the Amazon DSP is a really great choice.
Great, thank you. Sorry, Matt and I were laughing because we get this question all the time. So Matt, do you have any thoughts to share? How do you speak to advertisers about this?
Yes, get this pretty much daily recently, especially with some of the advancements in sponsored displays, offsite audiences targeting and remarketing. What we commonly hear is, should I invest in sponsored display or should I invest in DSP? And the answer is always both. We say it's not sponsored display versus DSP, it's sponsored display plus DSP as part of a holistic Amazon advertising strategy. So the answer is always invest in all of them. So when I speak to clients about that on-site versus off-site targeting and how sponsored display and DSP differ, I tell them from a sponsored display perspective to think about it in terms of, again, that traditional marketing funnel. So with sponsored displays, audience targeting, that achieves the off-site placements, building customer awareness, bringing customers back to Amazon. Then with category targeting, you're in aisle, in market targeting, moving them down the funnel. And then finally product targeting, which is very, very specific on-site, exclusively on-site placements, mainly on product detail pages as that lower funnel tactic. I would say from the biggest differentiator standpoint, I would say that DSP and sponsored display have many similar targeting capabilities, and then especially with offsite targeting, it's getting closer. But I would say from a DSP perspective, the biggest differentiator is the ability to leverage either third-party or CRM or hashed audience data. You also have a little bit greater control over the creative customization and what you can edit in the ad itself. And then I think the third and probably the biggest one at this point in time is something that we're seeing become significantly more important as part of an effective Amazon advertising strategy is with DSP, you have the ability to run streaming TV, formerly known as OTT, and then online video ads.
Great. And Matt, speaking of questions we get often, let's talk a little bit more about creatives. So how should advertisers be thinking about creatives, and do they need custom creative to get started?
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first. And the great news is you don't need any custom resources or custom creative in order to get started. So because you can leverage dynamic ASIN or product detail page content, you can launch a sponsored display campaign and create the ad itself with just a few clicks. So I think that's one of the best parts. However, we have seen really great success with advertisers as they learn the ad product, learn how to manage and optimize campaigns, but then pivot to custom creative, whether that be the image, logo, or headline. So I really encourage advertisers to run those tests for themselves. In full transparency, for some brands, for some categories, we've seen dynamic work better than custom and vice versa. But the recommendation is, whatever the case, test early, test often for yourself, and gain those learnings for your own business.
Awesome. Okay, so Matt, this one's for you as well. Does sponsored display work especially well for certain categories or product types, and who should be using sponsored display?
Yeah, this is one where I have to say that I previously, years ago, when I first started using sponsored display, had some preconceived bias where I thought it may work better for some of the others. But I would say in my experience, the sponsored display has worked well for every single brand I have visibility into and every single product category on Amazon. What's really important is just to make sure that you have a sound sponsored display strategy. So based on this, I firmly recommend that all endemic brands invest in sponsored display. And like I mentioned, we think of it as one lever in your overall Amazon advertising strategy. So a few good examples I have is if you're a CPG brand, something that I see really work really well is a trade up strategy. So if you are advertising on your own or a competitor's product detail page, you could execute a trade up strategy, either to a higher pack size or higher ASP item, whether to boost ROAS or profitability. I've also seen consumer electronics brands do a really good job of using a cross-sell strategy with sponsored display. So if you are manufacturing or selling both a smartphone case and a smartphone charger, you can cross-merchandise those on the respective product detail pages. And then finally, a great example from an office supply category is a competitor conquesting strategy. We've seen this be really effective, especially recently in kind of peak back to school time period, where you can purchase placement on a competitor's product detail page, and then you can even refine your targeting based on prime in-stock eligibility, star rating, or average reviews.
Great. So Starry, from an advertising product perspective, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd love to get in on this question and piggyback off of what Matt has already said. So I totally agree. Sponsored display can be used across the entire shopping journey for any product, as well as any product category. I did want to note that we also offer Amazon's machine learning powered targeting and bid recommendations. These two things are super powerful and can be leveraged when creating any sponsored display product targeting and remarketing campaign today. These recommendations can help you remove any guesswork when you're selecting a product target, a category target, or trying to figure out what's the right bid to set for your business. So let's talk a little bit about category and product targeting recommendations first. These recommendations are ranked by their probability of drawing higher click-through rate for your advertised products. Recently, we also launched suggested bid recommendations for any CPC-based sponsored display campaign. These are presented as a suggested bid as well as a suggested bid range. And both are actually calculated by analyzing a group of winning bids for recent similar ads within your category. The suggested bid and the suggested bid range are both updated on a daily basis. And we update it based on the increase or decrease in competing bids and ads in our auction. So if you are unsure about which bid to start with, we recommend starting with the suggested bid and then adjusting from there. This is a bid that our algorithm suggests will most likely help deliver impressions for an ad similar to yours. And this is one of the ways in which we believe that sponsored display can really work for any product or product category out there.
Great. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what's new. So Starry, sponsored display has evolved quite a bit over the last couple of quarters. First, can you give us a recap on what's new with sponsored display and then talk about why these innovations matter to advertisers?
As you've noticed and rightly pointed out, our team has been very, very busy. It feels like we've launched a lot of new and exciting features within sponsored display over the past year, and we have. So I wanted to highlight our most recent major release, because we really believe it will deliver value to both our advertisers and our partners. And that launch is the bid optimization with viewable CPM, as well as VCPM billing and attribution. So I want to talk a little bit more about this with you today. When you're creating a sponsored display campaign, you can now optimize bidding for your specific marketing objectives by selecting one of 3 bid optimization types. We have optimize for page visits, optimize for conversions, or most recently, optimize for viewable impressions. Now, these bid optimizations are meant to help you as an advertiser to better signal your campaign goal to us, deliver against that goal, and then, further optimize your campaigns accordingly. It's worth calling out that because this just launched last month, selecting optimize for viewable impressions can help you extend your campaign's reach. Then more accurately, value the efficacy of your awareness campaigns with the release of click plus view attribution, and then pay appropriately for that value using viewable CPM or VCPM charging. So what does VCPM charging really mean? Because this piece is really, really critical. Sponsored display only charges you for viewable impressions rather than any impressions served. We follow the guidelines set by the Media Rating Council, as well as the Interactive Advertising Bureau, where an impression is only considered to be a view if more than 50% of that ad is actually visible in the user's viewport for at least 1 second. So regardless of your targeting strategy, ads with this bid optimization and sponsored display will only serve on Amazon for now. Now, I also wanted to touch on, if you are optimizing for the other 2 goals, for page visits or conversions, your billing and your attribution will still be on a cost per click or CPC basis. Bear in mind that when you're optimizing for viewable impressions, that you're actually bidding per 1,000 impressions rather than on a per click basis. As such, it's important to adjust your bids to get the right results, the best results for awareness and your consideration campaigns. I want to provide a little bit of guidance because we've gotten some questions from customers on what's the right bid to set. We generally recommend a minimum bid of $5 for sponsored display campaigns that are optimized for viewable impressions. But if you want to test with less, we recommend using at least a $3 VCPM bid, or else your ads might not deliver. And I know we talked a little bit about the Amazon DSP. So if you're currently using the Amazon DSP, then we actually recommend using twice your CPM value when inputting a VCPM bid into sponsored display, because you want to take advantage of the fact that in sponsored display, you're only charged for when the ads are viewable, rather than if the impression is simply served. And I know, and I heard from the Pacvue team that you guys recently launched this new VCPM feature into your application, and you guys moved really fast on this one, and I'm super excited to see that go out to customers.
Thank you. Thank you for the shout out. And also thank you for kind of explaining to the audience how it works and how to think about setting bids. So kind of dovetailing off of that, Matt, as brands think about the ability to test and learn on new features, how should they think about budget setting for these new features?
It's a really good question, and it's clearly a very important one, just given the fact that we've been here for 30 minutes and discussed pretty widespread numerous changes just in the past year alone. So I think it's safe to assume that there's always going to be new features, new functionality rolling out with Amazon advertising. And something that we've had a lot of success with in the past year, working with clients that we've worked with for 2, 3, 4 years in a row, is setting aside proactively a dedicated test and learn budget. So what we've been working on with our clients is setting aside proactively a 10% test and learn budget to make sure that they have that budget set aside whenever inevitably a new feature or new functionality rolls out that they want to quickly take advantage of, without having to go back to finance or leadership to have incremental spend added to their budget mid-year. So we've seen numerous brands have really great success with it, and I think this has been really critical in those brands both testing early and often, gaining their own data, but then also most importantly beating their competitors and potentially having a head start in knowing how to run effective sponsored display campaigns. Great.
All right, so let's jump into our last section, which is talking more about holistic strategies. So Starry, this one will be for you. How can advertisers leverage the targeting options within sponsored display to achieve more of a full funnel strategy?
The full funnel. Great question, Mindy. So let's start at the top of the funnel and then work our way down as I answer this question. So when an advertiser cares about driving awareness at the top of the funnel as their campaign goal, it's likely they want to broaden their reach and get their brand and their products out in front of a broader set of relevant audiences. So one great way to achieve this is by leveraging sponsored display audiences, because it allows you to reach audiences on detail pages, search pages, the Amazon homepage, and even off Amazon, as well as on Twitch. Using views remarketing, you can reach audiences who have previously viewed products within broad categories, for example, electronics. You can also use Amazon audiences to help reach net new customers. You can select these Amazon audiences in a way that you would naturally describe your brand's core customers. For example, outdoor enthusiasts or environmentally conscious shoppers. So it's really easy to connect the language that you might use in your overall brand marketing strategy to your sponsored display strategy. And we always recommend, you can consider mixing and matching Amazon audiences with custom built views remarketing audiences within your ad group and see what works best for your campaign. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about awareness at the top of the funnel, I'm going to move down to the middle of the funnel. Suppose we have an electronics accessories brand, and they want to better engage audiences who are actively in market or actively considering buying smartphone cases. In this example, an advertiser could use product targeting to help reach audiences actively browsing in their own aisle on the product detail pages of the smartphone cases retail category. And similarly, they can leverage sponsored display audiences to help reach shoppers who have previously viewed products in the smartphone cases category and remarket them. You can tailor this targeting by leveraging refinements. So you can filter by things like brand names or price ranges or star ratings. And then finally, if an advertiser wants to, say, help drive conversions towards the bottom of the funnel, they could consider using views remarketing to help re-engage those audiences who previously viewed their advertised products or other highly similar products, but those shoppers haven't yet purchased. So remarketing to them and re-engaging them with your brand. And additionally, these advertisers can also target and protect their own product detail pages using product targeting to further drive conversions. These campaign strategies aren't mutually exclusive, meaning you don't have to only create campaigns, for one part of the funnel, for one part of the shopping journey. And as I previously alluded to, the shopping journey is complex and audiences are in various and different stages of that purchase journey at any given moment. So as you think about moving from broader audience targeting for your awareness campaigns down towards that more tailored approach for a conversion focused campaign, do note that, the likelihood of serving your impression might decrease, but your likelihood of a click or conversion may increase given the same bid value as you start to narrow in.
Yeah, I really like how you said there's not just, one option for each part of the funnel, right? There's multiple different options depending on what the goals are that you're trying to achieve. And we see that a lot. We talk about that a lot. So Matt, do you have anything to add from a practitioner perspective here?
Yeah, I'd say once again, it's tough to follow that answer up because that was a perfect response. I would say one example that I have that we worked on with a client was in the women's shoes category. Don't need to go through the marketing funnel again. I think I've already covered it a few times, but this example was women's shoes. And so we treated sponsored display as 3 different campaigns with 3 different tactics to fit within the 3 most traditional portions of the marketing funnel. So first, we leveraged the audience targeting capabilities and feature to target a really broad range of customers who had previously shown some sort of trigger, where there was a data trigger to show that they may be a part of that women's shoes audience or may be interested in a women's shoes ad. So then once we brought them into the brand ecosystem and introduced potentially net new customers to the brand, we then used category targeting to target those women on site or those shoppers on site for women's shoes who were actively browsing in aisle. And then we used some really pretty specific refinements, both for a price level and then in-stock eligibility, and then finally rating, to advertise our women's shoes products on product detail pages where we thought we had a better chance of converting to a click and purchase versus that competing product. And then finally, moving all the way down the funnel to product targeting. This is where we're kind of at the lowest and last click before purchase, really leveraging product targeting, especially with custom creative on very specific women's shoes product detail pages. And then also really powerful tie-in if you have some sort of promotion coupon running at the time, or there's some big tentpole event coming up. We really like to do this ahead of time to build that remarketing audience, build the brand awareness, to have this ready to go when that specific event happens.
Great. So Starry, because there are different ad product options at different parts of the funnel, how do you recommend leveraging the variety of Amazon advertising ad types without competing for the same placements?
That's a great question, Mindy. And before I dive into my answer, I just want to say, Matt, it's really enjoyable for me to hear the real examples that you can bring to this, and hearing how you guys are using these capabilities is really insightful for me as well. So thank you for that. So Mindy, as I've touched upon throughout our discussion, each of Amazon advertising's ad types are really well suited for different objectives in different parts of that journey. So sponsored display can be really powerful when it comes to crafting a robust product detail page strategy, while sponsored products and sponsored brands can really help advertisers help brands shine on the shopping results page. If you're bidding on the same products for product targeting in both sponsored display and sponsored products, our auction deduping at an advertiser level does ensure that you will not be competing and artificially inflating bids against yourself. Sponsored brands and sponsored brands video are wonderful tools for showcasing the breadth, the creativity, the unique voice of a brand. And we think that sponsored display audiences can really help complement that by helping you reach and prospect for net new audiences. Sponsored display is a great solution when building campaigns that really leverage and utilize Amazon's first-party shopping and streaming signals. You get to choose from CPC or VCPM billing, so you're only charged when someone actually clicks or truly views that ad, while still getting the benefits of retail centricity. And if you want to bring your own data and connect with a third-party tool through interoperability, then the Amazon DSP is a really great solution for that. So that's kind of how I would think about that question. But hopefully I answered in terms of the competing and the competition for the same placements aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so last and final question, Starry, this one's for you. What can we expect from sponsored display in the months ahead? What innovations are on the horizon?
So from the sponsored display team, we will continue investing in our creative offerings because we want to deliver more compelling creative experiences for our advertisers, partners, and shoppers alike. That's really important. You'll also see us continue to lock more robust targeting and bidding controls as we expand across Amazon.com, our owned and operated properties like Twitch, as well as exploring more offsite supply across third-party websites, as well as mobile apps. And as sponsored display continues to evolve and grow and shift, we remain focused on building tools and capabilities that really help businesses grow with Amazon. And I want to say that we are very, very grateful to have partners like Pacvue on this mission with us.
Thank you. So that's actually all the questions I have for you guys today. I'd like to first thank our audience. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this, or we'd be just talking to each other. But also thank you so much, Starry and Matt, for joining today and providing such great insights. And then last but definitely not least, there is a team of people both at Amazon and Pacvue that support us when we do webinars like this. So thank you to those teams that have supported us through this. And we really appreciate you joining us today. Lastly, we'll throw up our contact information. So if you have more questions on sponsored display, you need tips and tricks, or you need some help getting started, you can contact us at Pacvue. You can either reach out to us at sales@pacvue.com, or Matt has generously offered to be contacted personally at mattm@pacvue.com. Thanks again, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.